Hi, I'm Casey Smith, the host of Nevada Week, right here on Vegas PBS. We have a segment that we call Nevada Week Extras. We continue the conversation after we do a show. Let's check in on the conversation we had right after the show on Question 1, Marsy's Law. Let's talk about how much this might cost, okay? Do you see this being a huge cost to the courts, to the state governments, the federal, county governments, or is this something that it can be absorbed? Let's start with you, Eve.
Well, the areas where I could see an increased cost are in terms of the expanded notion of a victim from beyond victims of violent crime and serious crimes to victims of any crime whatsoever. So if many people who were the victims of minor crimes, even or misdemeanors and gross misdemeanors, began to want to participate in the process, it could take more court resources and time. There'd be costs associated with notification. And because the amendments give victims standing to compel the courts to enforce these rights, or the police and the prosecutors, there might be situations where do-overs happen more frequently if somebody wasn't notified or if somebody feels that their rights were violated under this. So that could be court time as well. The restitution provisions, depending on how they're interpreted, could shift funds that are collected from defendants away from courts in the first instance and towards restitution, but I'd have to go more in the weeds to know if that's the case or not. I don't know if
Do you feel there'd be extra costs?
Well, one, I want to clarify something that Eve said. Our provisions here in Nevada are an opt-in, and so a victim actually has to opt in to being notified or to being a participant in this process.
At the present time or under Marsy's Law?
Under Marsy's Law. So in any case, nobody would have to go chasing down victims because it is an opt-in system. The LCB came out saying that, they did not have a cost associated with it, mostly because there was, it hasn't passed yet. And so, first, let me say that doing the right thing should never be cost prohibitive. Secondly, in any of the states that we've been in, that have similar language to ours, has there been an extraordinary amount of money. What's interesting about Nevada is that this language was crafted with our Constitution and with our system in place in mind. And so in Nevada, we actually have what's called the VINE system, which is the Victim Information Notification Every Day. That's the acronym for it. And, that absorbs, that cost that may be associated with notification. If you're a victim of a crime, you go onto the VINE system, you sign up with your case number, and you can receive notification as to where your court case is proceeding. And so we just want to make sure that victims are informed that that's an option available to them.
Todd, is the infrastructure already in place, or will it cost a lot more money?
So the infrastructure is there once you opt in, but it's the notification process where it's going to be unknown because we don't know, at what level. If it's a misdemeanor, if it's a traffic infraction, the system isn't set up to make those notifications. So you've got a whole different layer of notification that is going to potentially cost all of the counties throughout Nevada. Who knows how much money? I mean, Idaho said no thank you because they estimated it was going to cost them an additional $500,000. The state of North Dakota found that it was going to be over $2 million. So we're looking at an unfunded mandate here because we don't know if this passes. The voters, if they vote on this, are then going to be saddling counties with extra costs that they have no idea what that expense will entail.
One other thing, it's a good possibility that if this were to pass, okay, I'm going to switch subjects for a second. If this were to pass, that it would be, it's a different system, so to speak, and that maybe more of the alleged victims, more of the alleged defendants would maybe need more legal counsel to navigate this. And so for people, low-income people of color, a lot of the people who don't have any money, will they be left out of this process, or are there provisions in Marsy's Law to protect them too?
No, I actually think that Marsy's Law would actually help benefit members of those communities that you mentioned. Often those are the folks who are left without a voice in the criminal justice process because they feel that that they're not being listened to. And so if anything, I think Marsy's Law would actually benefit those communities at a much higher rate than any other community. So I would say that Marsy's Law in question 1 would be a net benefit for them.
Would that be something that would increase your workload, do you think?
I mean, I think it depends because, you know, the audience, I mean, where these crimes are occurring, who's being affected, who are these victims, trying to understand, you know, the race or the ethnicity and what component that plays in all of this. Certainly looking at the monetary impact that it would have, I think all of those things we have to take into consideration. We don't know yet. We will have to wait and see if this question passes, what it does. But we haven't seen that that's a problem under the current system, so why we need to go and correct a system that seems to be working doesn't make a whole lot of sense to us.
Any stats, Eve, on other states that have dealt with costs, that have dealt with, for instance, the issue of the poor, the minorities getting representation?
Well, I do know that this amendment doesn't propose legal assistance for the victims of crime as part of it, and you know, court is intimidating and confusing for everyone. That's why we have law school, for people to be trained as lawyers as well. And so the question is, you know, which victims of crime will feel the most comfortable utilizing the processes which are already in place and which may be in place in the future. And that is going to skew towards people who feel more comfortable in professional contexts, like courtrooms, feel more comfortable around lawyers and judges, people who don't have warrants out for themselves for, you know, traffic violations and other problems that they might be facing, which are minor, misdemeanors, less even, but which may keep them away from contacting a prosecutor or contacting the court to find out what's happening with a case in which they're the victim. So those questions, I think, remain open.
Will, Todd, Eve, thank you very much for staying with us for Nevada Week Extra. Thank you.